Good morning. Welcome back to Old Plastic. I woke up a couple hours ago and looked outside and we had 6 inches of fresh snow. So rather than go shovel, I decided to make a video today. Now, this is probably going to be one of my most controversial videos that I've ever made. That's right. Today we are going to discuss how many vintage Star Wars action figures were produced. Now, I personally do not have a horse in this race because I'm a completist. But for the majority of collectors out there, they want a fixed number, a goal per se, as to how many figures they need to have a complete set. And this varies. It can vary from 92 figures all the way up to 135 figures. That's right. Now, whether you consider some of these action figures or monsters or play sets or what have you, being the completist that I am, I'm gonna try and collect all of them anyways, regardless whether they're action figures or not action figures. So I thought we'd take a look at them today. I guess if we start off with the card backs, right? In the US, there was 92 figures listed on a card back. Now, if you're outside the US, there was 93. Because outside the US, you could get Yak Face here. And he would be the 93rd figure. And we weren't able to get this here in the States. But if you wanted to have a full set, the card backs did not take into account R2D2. There was they made three R2s, but the card backs only listed one. So the solid dome and the sensor R2 weren't counted in that 92. And C3PO went to removable limbs from the original C3PO. So that would put us right at 96 figures, right? So we'd have Yak Face, R2 solid, R2 sensor, and C3PO non-removable limbs. So that would put the checklist at 96 figures if you included them. But there was also the case of the Bespin Guard. The card back only lists them as Bespin Guard. Although they made two. They made a black Bespin Guard and a white Bespin Guard. So if you added that, the list of action figures would grow to 97. But then Sears came along and they put out Blue Snaggletooth. Now, of course, Blue Snaggletooth could be just a variant, right? So whether or not you add blue snags into your list is going to depend on whether your list has variants in it. Now that could be a whole nother bag of worms that you're opening up there if you allow variants into your list. But let's say for the sake of argument that blue snags is so different than red snaggletooth that you had to include them. That would now put our list at 98 figures. Okay. Well, if we move on to which would almost have to be included, Max, Psy, and Droopy from the Max Rebo band. I believe that, let me see if I can get this in. Okay, so we got Max Revo band, right? It actually says that it is an action figure set. And if you look at the back of the box, it's actually a card back, right? So this, to me, could actually be a 3-pack of action figures, right? there was carded 3-packs of action figures, and this would be a carded 3-pack. It says right on the box, action figure set, so it'd be 1, 2, 3 action figures, right? So if we added then the Max Rebo band, Droopy, Max, and Psy, that would then take our figure count to 101 figures, right? Well, it's hard to dispute Jabba the Hutt as being a main character as well in Star Wars. So if you added Jabba and Crumb into the equation, you're now looking at 103 figures. It's like, when will this madness stop? We're up to 103 now. Well, Star Wars then added, you know, if you're talking vintage, you're talking what, 77 to 85, right? Well, in 1985, the Ewoks cartoon came out, and there was a line of action figures, which would then be classified as vintage Star Wars action figures. And there was 6 Ewoks action figures created. So that would bump our total now up to 109 figures. Well, it doesn't end there, because Droids came out too, the Droids cartoon in 1985. And that they released 10, well, technically 11 figures in the Droids line. So if you added the 11 Droids figures in, that now kicks us all the way up to 120 figures. Okay, well, so we're at 120 now. Well, let's talk about okay, so if we went back to 96 and we were talking about R2, the different variants of R2, they also released the playset Droid Factory, which gave us a new R2, the 3-legged R2 that we all love. And to me, it would be hard not to include this variant of R2 in the checklist as well. So that would take us from 120 to 121. But then we also have the wind-up R2. Now, this was one of my favorite toys as a kid. I loved all wind-up toys, and there was a lot of them, not just the wind-up R2. But I loved the wind-up R2, and he came out very early. I think it was 78. I mean, he was out very early. And I remember playing with him as a kid, and I loved him. And he's the same scale. Now, okay, from Japan, they did release like the R2 that shot discs and the one that shot darts, but those were a different scale. They weren't the same size. So I couldn't put them into the same 3 3/4 line of vintage Star Wars. But the wind-up, I don't know. I think he kind of fits. So I would add him in as well. So that would be 122 figures that we're now sitting at. But wait, what about Probot? I don't know. I mean, he had his own little language going on. He's an Imperial probe droid, just like R2 is a Rebel droid. You know, it's like, well, I mean, he displays nicely by himself here. He is a droid, just like C-3PO. Guess what? That puts the count now at 123 figures. I don't know if we should count that or not, but we'll see. It all depends on you. And let's not forget about the trash compactor monster. Well, I don't know. I mean, he's a monster. He's not an action figure. Well, Monster is pretty intelligent. He was able to get the heck out of Dodge when it started closing on Han and Luke and Leia and Chewie. He was like, I'm out of here, guys. He wasn't no dummy. You know, I don't know. But anyways, if you include him, that puts us at 124 action figures. But wait, there was another one. What about Han Solo in Carbonite that came with Slave 1? Now, if you remember in The Power of the Force, this Han Solo in Carbonite actually came with an Han action figure that came out. But in Slave 1, there was no action figure that came out. This was the action figure. So, I don't know. Han Solo and Carbonite Slave 1, that would put the count at 125 figures. Okay. Well, let's take a look in the background here. What about the Wampa? Well, the Wampa's a monster. You can't count him. Well, all right. You know, I mean, there were some pretty shady figures that were walking around the cantina. You know, some bat-looking creatures that, I don't know. I mean, they seemed more monster-ish than action figure-ish. But regardless what you think or what I think, Star Wars or Kenner released the Wampa monster. So if you include the Wampa, and let's not forget the Rancor monster, one of my absolutely favorite monsters to play with my Star Wars figures back in the day was the Rancor monster. I love this guy. I used to put my Luke Skywalker in his mouth and then grab him in the claws. I used to love playing with this. This is an awesome, awesome figure. So I'm going to have him in my checklist, whether you do or don't, because I loved playing with him. And then there's the Dewback. Well, okay, he's not an action figure, he's a horse. Or, he just is transportation. He's a vehicle, right? Yeah, I don't know. And then let's not forget about the Tauntauns. Now, of course, there's two versions of the Tauntaun. Here, I'll get this moved back a little bit. So we have the closed belly, and we have the open belly. Oh, wow. I didn't notice the closed belly actually has darker horns than the open belly. Huh. All right, so now, whether or not you include them in the list of action figures, that would be Wampa, Rancor, Tauntaun, Tauntaun Open Belly, and Dewback. That puts us, if you include them, that puts us at 130 figures, right? Action figures. Now, that's not it. That's not all. If you remember our three-legged R2 there, well, the Droid Factory. It says right on here, you can make 5 different robots. Now, that's not including the three-legged R2 that you could make in the Droid Factory. That's right, you could make the Meccano Droid R2, Tracto Droid, Quad Pod Droid, Roll Arc Droid, and then the granddaddy of them all, Monster Droid. So if we added those 5 droids to our checklist of vintage Star Wars action figure, yes folks, that would put the total at 135 action figures. Vintage Star Wars action figures. Now, I mean, do you have to have all those to be, to have a full run? No. I mean, if you wanted 92 figures, you'd have a full, if you had 92 different vintage Star Wars figures, you basically have a full run, right? I mean, 96 and maybe 97, you got a full run. Yeah, sure. I don't, as far as, like I said, I'm going to try and have 135. I mean, that's just the way I am. And I'm almost there now. I'm only missing 3 from the droids line. I'm missing the droids C3PO. I'm missing Tig, what's it? Tig or Tig from or something like that. And then oh wait, no, I'm missing 4. Yeah, I think I'm missing 4 from droids. I'll do a video on those figures later though. So I think I'm sitting at, I have, I guess, 131. I have 131, I guess. That's not including variants, obviously. Variants. But anyways, just thought I'd whip this video out this morning since it's snowing and I really don't want to go shoveling. So please leave in the comments how many vintage Star Wars action figures were released in your opinion. Was there 92, 93, 96, 97, 98, or 135? All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed this video. I thought it would be kind of fun. Let me know in the comments what you think. What is your opinion on it? Or do you don't have an opinion like me? Frankly, whether you think the Rancor is a action figure or not, that's beside the point to me. I'm still going to have them in my collection. Have a great day, folks, and hopefully you don't have to go out and shovel snow like I do. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.